All right, welcome back to Rubberducking Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Charles.
I'm your co-host, Mike.
Yes, welcome. All right, so this week, why don't we just get right into it, right?
All right, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so this week I just wanted to talk about like the K-pop influence in North Korea, right? So it's like when we think about like the influence that like the culture has in different countries, for example, right? Like South Korea. I mean, definitely South Korean like K-pop, right? So South Korean culture has influenced a lot of different countries, like America, for example, right? Like K-pop has been like the huge thing, like BTS. Like if you don't know BTS in America, it's kind of like where have you been? You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it had like huge influence in America and some parts of the country. Like I have friends from like Brazil, and they all know like K-pop, right?
Yeah.
And like even Cuba. Right, it's like
Cuba?
like
Really?
remote part
Wow.
of what Rosario.
She knew K-pop?
Didn't she know like BTS?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I know that it has gotten pretty big. I mean, I myself was in South Korea when South Korea was really trying to make it happen.
Yeah,
They really wanted it to be a global phenomenon. It was just wasn't happening.
Yeah. How? So Mike, you've been there. Like you were in there like from the beginning, like from the start when like the Big Bang, right, was like trying to make it big. And
that's right.
I think like the
Wonder Girls is part of the same.
Right.
I think the entertainment group, they had a little stint in U.S. It didn't work out, and like nothing they really tried hard to make happen just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then Psy's Gangnam Style just blows up.
That's right.
Out of nowhere, and that's kind of a meme song too. Like they wanted to be a little more serious.
Like, Gangnam Style.
That's a pretty good impression. All the like more serious pop, like if you think of BTS, really cool and good-looking people, right, and singing some of the English songs as well. Right. That never stuck until Psy. That was kind of my first time seeing this. Like, whoa, people are listening to Korean songs. That's weird. And then a few years later, of course, like gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And BTS, I saw a billboard on a California highway for BTS concert. I was like, whoa,
that's
this is
when
unreal.
They really hit you, huh?
Yeah, because like
when
even
really
in my mind, like South Korean culture is still like a very minor culture. I mean, it still is, but it's not something the important people of the United States would care about. Yet some did, so
not
that's
yet.
cool.
Yeah,
so it definitely has an impact today.
Yeah, in this day and age, like there's a lot of support, like Army, for example, right? Army is like the BTS fans.
Oh, are we talking about military now?
Army, yeah, BTS. So, yeah, like I'm not sure. This is just like my personal experience, and I am not sure if a lot of people will agree with me. But like my understanding is that at least like 90% of North Korean defectors, right? Like they have like encountered like South Korean drama, right, or foreign media when they were in North Korea, right? Wow. They watched like Titanic, and they watched 007, Bad Boy Swan, and a lot of South Korean dramas.
Is that statistic real? Like 90% of them?
I mean, yeah, it's like yes. So I do remember back in 2018, right, while I was working at Liberty in North Korea.
Yep.
They had like I've read the research paper, right, and then like they conducted a research, and at least like those people who
escaped,
escaped, and have you encountered like any South Korean dramas?
Wow.
And 90% of them say yes.
Super high.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So I'm not sure. So there are like 4,000, 35,000 North Korean refugees resettled in South Korea, right? And I'm pretty sure maybe not. They didn't get to like interview all of them, but at least like when they selected these people for the research purposes, right, and we conducted a survey, 90% of them said, yes, I have encountered South Korean media when I was in North Korea.
Wow.
Right. So looking at that, my hope is that like if we were to send more of K-pops into North Korea, like at least like when 100% of North Korean people knows, right, K-pop, right, and like knows like BTS, becomes an army in North Korea, right? Like, is there a hope, right?
I see.
Like, is there a hope in like North Korean people like revolting, right? At least like, oh, what I have here, it does not worth like any like what I have here. It doesn't seem like equal, like fair. Than what like South Korean people are having.
I see.
Oh, what are they having? I'll have what they're having. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, yeah, what do you think, Mike? Do you think there's any kind of like realistic?
Well, I've just been blessed with some extra piece of knowledge from a reputable source that apparently a lot of the North Korean scholars don't necessarily think that the media influence, not only looking at North Korea, but looking in the past, from countries where the people are oppressed and they know one way or another about their life outside of it, through media or popular culture, what have you. But whatever that is, it doesn't seem to carry enough weight to essentially cause a revolt that would topple the government.
Right.
Which I find interesting because it almost is a little bit unintuitive to me, but also at the same time, looking at it from a perspective of if you're looking at the people who came out, right? And you talked about this too. I mean, you were exposed to those,
right?
But for you, the reason for escape was the hunger and poverty,
right? Not the like a fantasy of living that life. Yeah. But and also it goes to say that some like a lot of people in North Korea like it's just a movie. It's like I don't want to risk my life over it, kind of like way too. But also, like I had a friend who's from Imangap, right? So there's a program in South Korea. It's called like Now We Go to Meet You, right? And that program has been running for a while. And I know a friend who's been on that, who had been on it for a while, named Kim Dan-bi, and she actually talked about this a lot too in her like interviews. And like one thing that really stood out to me, while like I was talking with her too, is that she obviously watched a lot of South Korean drama. Like she's the kind of person, who's like always like passing, the DVDs around, the CDs around, and she's kind of like a troublesome kid, right? She was like a wild child kind of person when she was. It was
like
North
a
Korea.
Friendly neighborhood dealer, except she deals in South Korean media,
right?
Not
dealer,
narcotics.
Yeah. Okay, right. So she has like this like a coat, and then just pulls out a coat, and she's like all this like pick what you want, kind of person.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was speaking with her, like she was telling me that whenever she was watching like South Korean dramas and South Korean movies, she didn't necessarily just focus on the plot lines of the movies, right, or like a story. She didn't technically follow that kind of like storylines. What she was following is more of like outside of that, like kind of like the main movie, right? So outside of the main characters. So for example, whenever they are, for example, like in the movie, if the character is eating outside at a restaurant, like what kind of background setting are they in, right? And also what kind of characters in the background, what kind of clothes are they wearing?
Oh, interesting.
And what kind of cars are going by, right? And like what kind of signs are in the background. So they don't necessarily follow, like whenever they're watching a movie, like sure, yeah, they're following the storylines too, but also at the same time, they're really focusing on like the broader version of the show, right? Like the broad, I guess broad storyline.
The setting and background is what captured their attention. Interesting.
Right. Okay. And also here's the thing too, that like when I was in the border town, right? When I was in Hesan, like I lived there like 2 months because like I, originally scheduled to defect North Korea for the first time in like April. And that's when, like, I guess that's when the security is a little less, but it ended up being complete opposite, and I needed to like stay there and get delayed. But while I was living there, like a lot of like 동네 형s, like neighbor, like a big kids, right, and the girls, like they would like imitate clothing styles, right, to the latest trend of like whatever the drama was or whatever the movie was. Like they were pushing the boundaries of this like a given rule, right, by modifying, like for example, like the school uniforms, right?
Yeah.
So women's like whenever they have a school uniform, like they would actually tear that apart and then make it even shorter or tighter.
I see, to match the trend in South Korea.
Right, it's like a skinny jeans, right? Of course, like jeans is not allowed, right? Skinny,
right.
Yeah, because it's American brand, right? So it's not allowed. Therefore, they are actually modifying. So those are actually from, like, they were influenced, right, by foreign medias, right? So when you think about that, like, when people are pushing these boundaries of what they're, like, what they can do and what they can't do, right, trying to figure out, is this okay? Right? Is this like if I do this, am I really gonna get in trouble?
Oh, right? So they're pushing the envelopes a little bit as to what's allowed or not. Okay.
But again, keep it in mind that this was like 2011, so it's been like 14 years ago, right? And I know that recently, Kim Jong-un just came up with. We talked about this law, right? It's like the.
Okay, I know I did a translation for this. 반동문화 배격법, was it?
Oh
yeah.
My
gosh, I remember the name.
Yeah, 반동문화
So
배격법.
it was like the anti, rebel ideology law or something like that. I think I had a better translation.
Right, and it is actually, it does not only apply to South Korean drama. It applies to music. It applies to like a cultural kind of like appropriations, and radio as well. So any kind of like foreign culture, right?
Anything that might challenge the Juche ideology.
Right. It's like punishable by death.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's
extreme.
what they've been saying. And also at the same time, like, Kim Jong-un is what I think, right, is that, like, for example, like Kim Jong-un is allowing cell phones, right, in North Korea.
Yeah.
And Kim Jong-un is also allowing, like, so North Korean version of like girl groups, right?
That's right.
We got a Lucky Punch Productions. Charles, you never returned my phone call.
You got a phone call, Charles?
I don't know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for the listeners who are our faithful listeners on the podcast platform, reminder that we do go live, although our filming/recording schedule is not very regular. Whenever we do go live, if you would like to participate on live conversation, you can join us on YouTube. There's a platform we're going live right now.
That's right.
And ask us questions, leave comments. Would love to see your participation. But why didn't you return your call, Charles?
I don't know.
Too busy hustling.
I guess so.
So I have an idea then. So to answer your question, I mean, my initial response was pretty pessimistic, and I think historically looking at it makes sense. But perhaps in a little more hopeful perspective, yes, maybe it's not the direct cause of a revolt or the red curtain or iron curtain falling down between the North and the South, but maybe a catalyst, right? So I'm not a chemist, but like catalyst is a substance in a chemical reaction that can either cause the two otherwise non-reactive substances to start reacting to each other or accelerate the chemical reaction.
Right.
So maybe the K-pop or South Korean media is not exactly causing directly, getting people to pick up the pitchforks and fight the regime, but it's certainly kind of seeding certain ideas in their heads, like these people,
in their minds,
South Koreans.
Yeah. It's a gradual change,
right?
Like it's a gradual cultural shift, like a little bit of cultural shift into a direction that could hinting towards like some change, right, within the regime.
I see.
So yeah, I agree with you. Is that like we don't necessarily, it wouldn't necessarily like lead to like North Korean people actually revolting against the North Korean regime because
not directly
because they're too powerful. Like there's like, I mean, again, like the North Korean Kim Jong-un just did came up with the 반동주의.
Anyways,
right, and it's punishable by death. Therefore, people will be like, that's to actually combat the idea of people learning about the foreign culture.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about you here, right? So you said that you escaped, you wanted to escape because of the hunger and the poor living conditions there. But I can also imagine, you also knew that there was a better life out there even before you went out to China. Right. Yeah. Because you saw what it was like in South Korea through that media.
Right. Well, yeah. So I watched 가을 동화 when I was in North Korea. I watched 가을 동화, and and that's like it's not by any means it's not like the drama of like a crash landing on you, or any of the drama that you watch currently, because it's been made in like olden days, right?
Oh, come on, it was still a pretty good one, I think.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think it also made a big hit in Japan as well, which is saying something.
Yeah. And while watching those kind of dramas, like I do realize there is life out there which is better than the one that we're currently living, right? And like if you were to just, and at the same time, like you have to always like take the risk, right? It's a very risky business, like, because if you get caught, like there is no guarantee that you will be safe. Right, like at the time, like when Kim Jong-il was the dictator of North Korea, like yes, if you get captured watching foreign media, you will be punished. But the law was very loose, right? So you can bribe it out, and you can, like depending on how many people you watched with, depending on like who did you watch it with, right? Who did you watch it with? Like let's say like you watched it by yourself or with your family, then that's more easily you can easily bribe it out, right? Or maybe like if you were to watch it with like just your friends, right? Maybe that's also easily bribe.
But if you're a dealer or distributor,
right,
you're in
like,
more trouble.
Yeah, then like they're gonna make an example out of you, right?
Wow.
Because like, oh yeah, I've watched it with many people and nothing happened to him. Like, what does that say about the regime? Like, and their legitimacy of their that's authority as well, right?
Right, undermines the
authority. So yeah, it was back then, and also knowing that yes, I'm gonna get in trouble, like watching this, that factor in itself discourages some people from watching it, right? That discourages like a lot of, well, not some, maybe a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe since that law got enacted, maybe that percentage has dropped.
Yeah, and also it was repolished in 2023 as well. So that first law came out at 2020.
Did it make it like stricter? What do you know? What?
Yeah, they made it. They included much more things to it.
I see. Since you can get in trouble for more stuff.
Yeah. So again, yeah. So it was back then, right? It was, and I guess that kind of gave me a hope in escaping North Korea. Right? Like I fantasized about life outside of North Korea, but again, like, a trusted source once mentions like that alone might not be the sole reason why people escapes North Korea, right? And I agree with that too. Like, yeah, I escaped North Korea because I was hungry and because I was, starving and I was struggling to live there. It's not just sole reason that, oh yeah, the life that my life is good in North Korea. But the life that I have, I see in drama, it looks much more better.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are people who escape North Korea because they want better life for their kids.
Oh, that's true.
Not them necessarily.
Even the elites, right?
Elites, yeah. So elites escape North Korea, and I'm sure you've seen like the TV show called the Imangab, right?
Yeah.
Now we go to meet you, and when you look at people who come onto the show, like they openly accept that, yeah, I escaped North Korea because I wanted freedom. Like I wanted freedom for my kids.
Right.
Like we weren't necessarily hungry in North Korea, but we just want freedom, right?
Yeah. Another thing that I think is interesting is that, I mean, have you watched like maybe Chinese drama or maybe
yes, I have.
Other like Soviet drama? I mean,
yes, I have.
What did the backgrounds and settings of those movies or pop culture stuff depict? Like, I mean, did that capture your attention as like, oh, that's better than North Korea at all?
Not really. Here's why. Because Chinese dramas that I used to watch are Chinese propaganda movies fighting Japanese.
Oh, I see.
Right, that they're huge on like fighting Japanese. And Soviet Union movies that we watched, it's mostly during World War II, like it was made in like 90s, like early 90s.
I see. So those are like the Juche ideology approved.
Right. Juche ideology approved movies.
So you're saying that the North Korea perhaps even censors like the latest Chinese or latest Russian movies.
Yeah.
Because
Jackie Chan is not allowed in North Korea. The reason is because he's been partnering, with like, I mean, he's like a world star.
Yeah. Okay.
So a superstar, but yeah, Jackie Chan's movie was illegal, and a lot of like Chinese dramas that hinting towards like the capitalism, right? Like
free market,
free market. That was illegal. Like if you, like that will be treated as equally as South Korean dramas.
I mean, this is what I'm thinking. So I think perhaps what's potentially different and unique about the North Korean situation is that it has a sister country to South Korea that's been doing well for so long, and I don't know if the North Korean people, and this is just a guess, would necessarily go and seek out content they don't really understand, like in Russian or in Chinese, to go look for things that are like what is to discover what is life like outside of North Korea. But the South Korean content, the adoption of it is so easy, right? Because they speak the same language, the culture is compatible. So when you watch their content, like it's immediately maybe much more believable. I mean, you first of all understand the dialogue, you understand the lyrics, and perhaps it's a little easy to kind of adopt and understand and recognize,
consume and digest, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Like it's first of all, like the language is the same, right? And they speak the same language, and a lot of like background around you, right? Or the background, like I guess like the settings and background is much more familiar, like Korean signs.
Yeah, because like easy to maybe trust them. Like, oh man, they eat kimchi too.
Right.
They eat rice too.
Right. Whereas like milk and bread, it's like that's
like you can just kind of like chuck that off as like, oh, that's just what the foreign people do. That's the country out there.
Yeah.
But seeing South Korea immediately destroys the propaganda they've been hearing that South Korea is full of homeless people, and it's a really poor country.
Yeah.
That's like shattering that entirely. I mean,
shattering
was that
the
image
experience? The image of like North Korean regime have been telling, right?
Right. And what did you think when you first saw that? Like South Korea, I mean, you were certainly were brainwashed.
Right. Yeah,
like
I learned that
poor.
South Korean kids are, and South Korean kids are, selling gums on the street and polishing shoes, polishing like American military's like boots to make ends meet. I've been hearing that, and like I was trying to look for those kind of like signs, right? Those kind of signs of like in the dramas, like, oh yeah, is it real? Like, am I looking at the background? Like, I'm trying to search that.
Okay.
And I could not find it. So it's again, like I'm not doubting the legitimacy of the regime, but I do have a question in my back of my mind. It's like,
seeding those questions.
Yeah, like what is this, right? Like what is this? Like, and again, like I'm too young to understand, right? Like I don't question the regime, and like, but I still have like, but it's not like that. It doesn't seem like so, right?
Right. Oh, interesting. So I mean, I can imagine, like we've been talking about, that even if it does not cause an immediate revolt, but if there were to be like a coup, right? Somebody who somehow is able to gather enough military power or foreign aid to start something against the regime, it would be a lot easier to convince people.
Right. To actually.
I mean, would it even take convincing? Like people might just like immediately
join in. Yeah. Like, okay. I mean, it's like a wildfire in a dry grass, right? They just need to be like.
They're just looking for that spark.
Yeah, looking for that spark. And and there's a point. Also, a trusted source of mine also told me that maybe if North Korea's economy, right, maybe it's like a little bit, as equivalent, not quite to South Korean level, but maybe to like Chinese level.
At least no one's starving.
No one's starving, and like the hierarchy of needs, right? So when we talk,
was it Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Maslow's?
I think it's Maslow's. Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, I was like, when people are full, then they start to think about like other things,
right? All the way at the top, like self-realization at the top,
right?
I mean, actually, we have examples of that, don't we? Because people who are elites who lived in Pyongyang, who had status, who escaped, they didn't escape because they were hungry, because they weren't.
I want freedom.
They wanted freedom, and that was the self-realization.
Movement. I want to travel to different world, like different countries. Like I want to travel to Italy. I want to see that. Rome and whatnot. So that's a possibility. But here's also the thing too. China, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about China. Mo Zedong killed millions and millions of people. Right. I mean, maybe not directly, right? He didn't directly mass murder people, but because of him, a lot of people died. Right?
Yeah.
but nobody's talking about him now. Like he still is the savior of China. Right? He's still like people in China really don't think of it. Well, at least like what 1.8 billion people in China right now.
Yeah.
Like they don't like rise up and overthrow the government. The reason is because they're full. Like their stomach is full and they're just busy living their life.
Interesting.
Right.
So is that like maybe the counter scenario that even if the economic conditions improve in North Korea, maybe there's a chance that desire for freedom will actually go down?
Because they're just so focused. I mean, not the desire for freedom. So becoming like China, right? So they're allowed, let's say that, oh yeah, you are free to watch South Korean drama.
Yeah.
Right? So there is no repercussion for watching foreign media. There's no repercussion for, like, they can travel outside of North Korea.
That's
freely.
True. Although they do have censored internet and things like that. I don't know. Do you know what the policy is for China if like people watch American movies and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in China, like I went to the PC cafe and I was looking at like South Korean TV, like the reality shows. 1박 2일 or that was in 2008.
Okay, so it's essentially way more open, although there is censorship. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like you can form like a 5 group of people and say I want to overthrow the government, right? You can't definitely say that in China because there's only one party and you have to vote for one person, like one party only, right? But in terms of like economy wise, like they're pretty open, right? They're pretty like capitalist.
I see. So maybe another kind of a path to, because before in the previous episodes you have talked about your desire as not necessarily full freedom and reunification. I mean, that is certainly
that is the ultimate goal, right? That is like that is my ultimate goal. But for now, like
you at least want, I think you said you at least want North Korean people to not starve,
right?
Just like the Chinese people are not starving right now for the most part.
Yeah. But the next step up from that is like, okay, so now people are not starving. Now people can actually freely travel, right? Maybe at least to China, right? And then get to like experience like Chinese cultures and whatnot.
I mean, you have a point. I don't know, like at that point, people will necessarily think that the North Korea government needs to go away. But I mean, kind of building one step at a time, tying it back to the K-pop though.
Right.
Maybe like people being exposed to all this Korean media, South Korean media, and free Western world media can put more and more pressure onto the government to open up the economic gates so that the more economic kind of trades and just in general it would improve the conditions so that the North Korean people will not starve. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I also heard a testimony of like the East and West Germany, like when they fell, right?
Yeah.
Like the polar side of the Germany were watching, right, the richer side of the Germany's TV shows and the broadcast, right? And that actually I've heard I've heard that the testimony of like that encouraged us to actually do something about it.
I see.
Right. So I am hoping the same thing as well, right? And at least like, and again, like in the beginning of the podcast we talked about like 90% of the research that they conduct, like the survey they conducted, like they said, I did have
90% of the defectors
have consumed foreign media. Like I've had encounters with South Korean drama and foreign medias, right?
I see. Right.
And especially nowadays, like how like back then. Okay, here's the thing too. Back then, the security was a lot looser, right?
Yeah,
or like Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-il was like a lot loose with like, whatever, you watch it, but be careful, but you're still gonna get in trouble, but not that much, right? And it was a CD, right? It's really hard to, right? It's really hard to hide, right? And also, the way actually they crack into your house, or the way that actually did the crackdown is that while you're watching, right, they would actually put the power on for a while, right? And then right before the like crackdown happens, they cut the power, right, so that they can't take out the DVD from a DVD player.
It's stuck inside of the
right. And then they come right away, and then like let me see it. Right? So it's a lot harder to get away with like if you get caught, right? But now, even though the things are a little difficult, right, to watch it, but there is a micro SD now.
Right.
Right.
So
and micro SD.
Swallow that.
Right. Swallow that. Yeah. And then there's much more like the gigabyte, like
right.
Back in the days, like CDs, like it's like what, like 1 megabytes? I don't know.
The CD holds about 700 megabytes, which is like only few episodes. But yeah, small micro SD card can now have seasons and seasons of Korean content. So
yeah. I think I know. Sorry. So I distracted.
That's okay. I mean, let's recognize the person on the chat here. Thank you,
thank you so
Lucky
much
Punch Production, for connecting Charles, and we can do a little plug for your recent interview that you had.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had a John Stossel interview. His last name is Che, right? Would you please remind me? I know Isaac. No. I'm waiting now. No, yes, I do remember. I was talking with you, and you arranged. He arranged a meeting for me, and then I talked with Rigel. Yeah. Eugene. That's right. Eugene Choi. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Eugene. I don't know. I thought you were looped into the email thread and whatnot. So that's why I was I was like, wait, I was talking. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for connecting, Charles, and for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for connecting and the opportunity. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yes,
that was a great opportunity.
And can you tell your listeners a little bit about what the interview was and where they can find it?
Yeah. So my interview was about sharing my story, about my life story in North Korea and how I came to America, and just my love of America, because I'm a little biased. Let me tell you, I'm a little biased. America gave me, second chance at life, basically. And
wow.
like I have a family here, I have a job, I have I have a life here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm beyond grateful for that. And I just talked about that. And also, North Korean regime as well. Their cartel. Like we always talk about that.
Yeah.
And North Korean regime actually holds like the people right against their will.
Right.
Yeah, and that interview is actually on YouTube under John Stossel TV. So, Eugene, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I recognize that you're saying that if Eugene had been there, he would have had more questions for you.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, we are always open for questions from our listeners and other wonderful folks who would love to collaborate with us. So,
yeah.
Is it
info.rubberducking@gmail.com?
There we go. Yeah, that's where we're taking questions. So please feel free to send those too. But
and we'll be covering the stories. I guess we'll be covering that question in the next episode. Or actually, I got one question. Does the fact? Yeah. Let's cover the Lucky Punch Productions.
All right. Does the fact that Kim Jong-un was educated? Let me read a comment, please.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Oops.
Does the fact that Kim Jong-un was educated in the West, in Sweden, make this action worse in a way? Oh, that's a great question.
That's a really good question.
What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So he's got to absorb all the Western media that he wanted.
Right, and this is the way I'm going to not allow people to. This is the reason why.
What a hypocrite.
Right.
I mean, his weight is already an indication of how hypocrite he is.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I think so. It makes it worse because he was educated in the West. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so he knows what kind of content is out there, not just for like ideological reasons, but for the creativity and then just enjoyment people can get out of the entertainment. He's seen it, but for the continuation and the safety of his own regime, he's decided to kill people for enjoying the same thing that perhaps he once did.
Yeah, and also I learned that today that the reason why Kim Jong-nam was actually silenced or got killed in Malaysia was Kim Jong-un wanted to silence him, right? Oh, I mean, like he was worried about Kim Jong-nam coming back, and taking over North Korea.
Right. I mean, he had the birthright, I guess, through the bloodline.
Yeah, but also I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I also heard that Chinese government was actually thinking about helping him.
Kim Jong-nam. Oh, so there's some rumors.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's like that controversy.
Yeah, because I know that Kim Jong-nam was probably. I mean, he was kind of like going around in different countries. People had expectations. I mean, Kim Jong-un was an unknown character to the South
public.
Yeah, to the public. Right?
Yeah.
So
I even know as a North Korean, I did not know about him.
Right.
I did not know about any of those kids, any of Kim Jong-il's kids.
I mean, Kim Jong-nam, the South Korea knew about, and
really?
I think world in general knew about, and had some hopes that like because he's been around so much, and I think. Again, I could be remembering wrong here, but he had dropped a little more hints or indications that he may be more open to opening up the borders or just like communicating more or collaborating more in general with the neighboring countries than the North Korean regime had been at the time.
Right.
So there was some hope there, but of course that all got crushed as he was assassinated.
Right.
In foreign soil.
And see, that's the importance of like foreign culture. Right. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I lead back to that because like Kim Jong-nam was actually he loved the West, right? He loved his foreign culture. Like he didn't, because what I heard was that he did not want to like anything to do with like North Korean dictatorship. Like he was more into like like the West culture, and Disney World. As sad as it is, he died trying to go to Disney World in Japan.
Are you serious?
Right? In Malaysia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he wanted to go.
Kim Jong-un literally murdered a kid. I mean, it was an adult, but like this like
man
child in him that wanted to just go see Disney.
Right. Yeah, it's really sad, but yeah, I think about that too. Like, what if Kim Jong-un's daughter, right, and her generation, right, because there is so much foreign media.
Because she's
going
watching.
On in
we
North
know
Korea.
that, right? She has to be watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure she watches like Disney movies, and at least I did, right? Tom and Jerry, when I was in North Korea, I watched Tom and Jerry and like all of the Disney movies, right?
I see.
Because Kim Jong-il at the time he loved Disney films. So Lion King, Sword in the Stone, and like Cinderella, and
I mean, smart move on Disney's end to like produce content that is relatively non-controversial or ideological, right? So that everyone in the world can grow up watching them.
Right. Yeah. And I actually, I'm not sure if I ever brought that up to you, but I watched Prince of Egypt when I was in North Korea.
No way. What?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and that's Korean dubbed. Yeah, Prince of Egypt.
No way. What?
And when I was in Sariwon actually.
Wow.
At my aunt's house.
And was that illegal? That was illegal.
It was highly illegal.
That makes sense.
But
I just rewatched it a couple days ago, actually.
Right. Yeah. It's such and their soundtrack is such a.
Banger. I listened to just the soundtrack, just like just to listen to it. It's great. Wow. I mean, that makes me dream. Like, is North Korea just one? Kim Joo-ae, who's the daughter of Kim Jong-un, falling in love with Prince Charming from the West from opening up, right? I mean, if she's gonna be the heir, that is.
I heard that. I saw this comment on my video the other day, and it just cracked me up so much. It's like North Korea is like very low budget, long running K-drama series.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
But it cracked me up, and as sad as it is, like Kim Jong-un just throwing like poop balloons over to South Korea, just so petty.
Right.
And that's to combat the South Korean like non-profits, like sending in,
right,
like,
the
foreign media,
those those SD cards over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're actually talking about that. So SD cards, right?
Yeah.
So now it's much more easier to hide.
Right.
Right. Much more easier to hide, and there's
so much more volume you can bring.
So much more volume to actually bring in, and now there's like MP4 players that can actually play videos there too.
That's right.
It's relatively small.
And if people have phones, they can just watch it on their phones, I guess.
But here's the thing too. Last week we talked about the phone.
Oh, that's right.
You need a North Korean regime generated like thumbprint in order for your mobile device to so the both parties, right? So the SD card and the phone
has to be the regime approved. But
right,
regime approved. But I'm sure people also sneak in Chinese phones.
That's right. Yeah. And I think this is a kind of like a cool segment way to actually go out, or cool way to actually conclude our episode is that zero gravity, right? So tomorrow, I actually really want to hear from our listeners as well. I personally want to partner up with Elon Musk and send in millions and millions of cell phones to North Korea that has Bluetooth capabilities, right? And that has like a local network, right?
Yeah.
And I want to pre-install a lot of like, I don't know, maybe like a shows, like reality shows. And I vote we put in The Office. I want to hear from our listeners, like, what show would you recommend putting on that cell phone?
All right. Yeah. I mean, assuming that it's either Korean dubbed or Korean subbed.
Korean subbed.
I love that. Please send your ideas to info.rubberducking@gmail.com. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, this was a really fascinating topic. I do dream that one day, the North Korea does.
Dota 2. Sorry. Yeah.
Dota 2.
Send in Dota 2. Prince of Egypt.
Does come to, a point where the people can watch those things freely and not have to risk their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that, like, as much as I, doubt that, maybe, like, because to a certain extent, I do doubt, like, okay, so does foreign media really gonna, bring change to North Korea? Like, is it really going to make people revolt against North Korean regime? Maybe. I don't really know. But, right, what the foreign media will do, one thing for sure, is we talked about, it will prepare people for it.
Yeah, that's right.
It will prepare people for it.
Well, in that sense, I would like to, my takeaway is that it already has brought enough change, right? We may not see the effects of it yet, but once that spark is lit, maybe we will see then.
Yeah.
Right? Explosive spreading of that fire, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, listeners, that's the one way you can actually participate, is to send us your vote for the foreign media that should go into North Korea.
All right.
Info.rubberducking@gmail.com.
Thank you for joining us today.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.